you doing, not beautiful sons of bitches? It's your boy Baxter, and today we got Evan and John here to discuss fucking ants. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, it's some video related to Anbor. But before we hop in the video, John did some dicking around and he discovered ants membership tiers. So, John, what are ants membership tiers?
Well, we got the basic one here. We got, $3 a month. Oh, that's nothing. That's a cup of coffee or whatever. All right. So, we got members only live chats. We got some polls that you get a say in, and you get some priority reply to comments. Okay.
Ooh.
So let's jump up to $7 a month
Mm-hmm.
here. Okay. This is kind of like a streaming subscription at this point.
Yeah.
So at that point, you get early access. That's probably the major benefit. The other ones are pretty lame.
Yeah.
Photo and status update, membership. Okay, whatever. Then we go ahead and jump over 3 times that to the producer, $25 a month.
Oh my god.
What do you
So what
get?
does that give us?
Connecting on social media.
Which he does anyway, if you just kind of shit on him enough. So it's your choice, guys. You can either pay $25 a month, or you can make a video about him and he'll reply to you anyway.
This is a total fucking scam. Like, what is this shit? Like, come on. It's like,
And just to put in perspective, I'm a channel member on a fair number of people that Ant here would probably call a grifter.
oh yeah.
Such as like Critical Drinker. It's like $10 a month, and he gets you a shit ton of stuff. Which is what, like 2/5 of the price that this one is. Now, he won't connect with you on social media. Sorry about that. But, they give you a super chat, which is basically paying for itself already. He gives you the early access. He gives you all the other, little priority replies and all that sort of stuff. So, it's like, wow, I guess you're a super grifter, Ant.
This is legit fucking authentic. No fucking cap. It's like, oh my god. It's like, and people are stupid enough to give him money over this shit. He's ripping. He is no joke. A fucking shyster. That's what Ant is. He is a fucking shyster, and I am more and more convinced of that every fucking day. Ugh.
People charge way less than this, and they'll actually do live streams where they invite you on to talk with them like once a month, and they'll,
Yeah.
Here's the thing,
talk
you
with you all
could
the
do that on Instagram with like certain celebrities like doing their live streams and all that. And half the time, if you just request to go on stream, 9 times out of 10, they'll let you on and chat with you for like a minute or so before going on to the next person. Like, you can do all that for free. Oh, this guy's asking you for like $25 just to. You can
And
go
he's
on
not
and
even
chat.
giving you that. Yeah, he's just like, oh, I'll like your post or whatever on social media. Like, he's not even willing to dedicate an hour of his time a week or a month or something. Just be like, oh, I'll go on a stream with my top tier $25 a month member because I only have 86K subscribers and probably half of those are bots.
Yeah.
If I'm being generous.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what has this gotten? Let's see. 38K over about 2 weeks ago, so it's pretty much maxed out. So
Yeah.
under half. He's somehow gotten 700 comments on it. Oh no!
I'm more concerned over the fact that he has 86K subscribers, but only 2.3K likes.
Ooh, that's true. Very true. Oh, look, he's got the Thrawn
He's got
book
Heir
right
to
there.
the Empire. Yeah,
He's not a shill.
oh my god, dude, fucking hell. Like, in that, dude, John, you remember in that fucking last fucking Star Wars video Ants we covered? He had Heir to the Empire in that video, as well as Darth Plagueis, but he had like both of them like partially hidden by a fucking Disney novel.
I like how he's got Berserk, because I guarantee you, if they changed Berserk to make the main protagonist like a total fucking cuck, he would be completely behind it and be like, well, it needs to be modernized for a modern audience.
That's my big fear. When Berserk eventually gets a live action adaptation, they will change guts. Even just one tiny change will just completely destroy any intricate storytelling that was within the manga.
Oh well, you don't, Evan. Don't you know? Like fucking Guts is like pretty damn sexless and really averse to just like sexy time. So it's totally okay to make him a total fucking pussy
Well,
who's
look,
who's.
I love the main story, but it's highly problematic
Oh
when
my god.
viewed through a modern context.
Oh my god.
And so that's the exact language they would use
You
because they
remember
always have to frame themselves of
when
liking
Twitter
it.
first learned about
Did
Berserk
did
after
Ant
the
fucking did Ant
oh,
fucking did Ant fucking like dye his hair? It's darker than usual. What a
It does
dope.
look very different. I think he way overused the gel or something to the point where it darkened it.
he if I were to guess, he either just got out of a shower or he went on a complete bender.
Oh my god. Oh my god. We've wasted enough time. Let's get into the fucking video now, shall we?
Pika pika. All right. Oh wait, I gotta I think I still have it on. Oh, never mind. It's okay on the playback speed. I thought it would keep the 1.5.
Mm-hmm.
And with its conclusion, wraps up one of the last few great projects Disney Star Wars had going for it before this whole revamp of how they're going to do things.
There is no such thing as good Disney Star Wars.
One of the last great ones.
Previous Star Wars films presented
What do you mean
the
by that?
Empire as this grandiose.
That's not a Star Wars
emphasizing
film. That's the Kenobi show.
No.
its size, power, organization as a means to intimidate the much
Oh,
smaller
John, it is
Rebel
lagging.
Alliance. And this is,
Oh,
of course,
really?
It is lagging. Yeah, it's like we may need to switch up here. Hang on, folks. We'll be right back.
Star Wars
All right,
films
folks. We
presented
are
the
sorry about
Empire
that. We are back here now. Keep going, Evan.
as
Well,
this grandiose
that reminds
figure,
me.
emphasizing
Pause.
its
You know, what the hell do you think he means when he says like last good Star Wars things? What the hell's up with that?
He's talking about some sort of revamp. I assume he's talking about like Filoni getting full control, but I feel like he wouldn't trash on Filoni, so I'm not really sure.
I know Ant likes Rebels. I know that.
Ugh.
That way.
Yeah, I feel like they're always trying to frame it as like you need to watch this thing right now, or it's one of the last, or it's one of the first. It's never just like one of the things. So he's probably just trying to be dramatic in that sense.
All right, Evan, can you go back like 10 seconds? But yeah, I have no idea what fucking revamp he's on about. So yeah, Evan,
You
go
may
ahead.
have to listen to him one more time.
Tyranny requires
going for it before this whole revamp of how they're going to do things.
tyranny requires constant effort. It breaks.
So I forget if it was one of these recently, but I know for a while, and it was always like eye-rollingly bad. But they would always be like, "Oh, Filoni, he's now the assistant to the general manager. This'll totally. He has so much more power now." Like Filoni constantly has his title changed, and then they act like it's some sort of big deal. He's never actually given like Kathleen Kennedy like authority, and he's also never like stripped of authority. But they always like kind of horizontally move him and then act like it's a big deal. So that might have happened recently again, and so they're acting like it's a big deal again.
Although chances are, no matter how many titles he's been given, he'll always have the same amount of power he's always had.
Probably,
Dude, that's the
yeah.
thing. Like nothing changes. It's always like, and they'll sort of acknowledge that. And I know this because I used to listen to fucking Harloff and stuff. He'd be like, "Oh, he's now the chief vice president." And so that is so important because now he like has really awesome creative, and the same bad shit would happen. He'd be like, "Oh, well, what they really need to do is make Filoni the assistant executive, and then he'll have really big authority." It's just like they never give him the actual position of power. It's always one
You
step
need to
short.
give Filoni a bear cowboy hat to show how much authority.
Yeah.
Because Kathleen Kennedy ain't never gonna fucking retire because she's a power hungry bitch. Anyways.
Yeah.
I mean, Kathleen Kennedy's getting up there. She's going to retire one of these days, and the chuds
She'll
out there will take
retire
credit
from life,
too.
yes, eventually.
Yeah.
Out of old age, not because I'm wishing anything bad upon her.
All right, shall we continue on?
Yep.
Previous Star Wars films presented the Empire as this grandiose figure.
I love how he says Star Wars films, yet he immediately cuts to fucking Kenobi.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway.
Definitely not the best start. You want to continue here, Ant?
figure, emphasizing its size, power, organization as a means to intimidate the much smaller Rebel alliance.
I bet
It's
he
always been
has
depicted that way.
quite experience relating to that.
And this is, of course, not too surprising. George Lucas has always been upfront about the fact that the rebels are meant to represent.
Hold on. In that interview, he was fucking led into saying that. Is he about to say that the fucking rebellion has always been the Viet Cong and the Empire's America? Because if you say that, and Star Wars Marvel purists would like a word with you.
I always love this analogy too because it's like, oh, so the Viet Cong were little teddy bears. Interesting.
Yeah.
If you actually take it as like a 1-to-1 thing, it's like what they were freedom fighters.
The Viet Cong during the Vietnam War.
There
That's
you
it.
go.
That's
Yep,
it.
he's just gonna
That's it. I gotta link Purist this video after we're done.
taking it out of context, not having any of the lead in or anything.
Yep.
That they are these small guerrilla forces resisting the influence of a much larger superpower.
They're using asymmetric warfare.
That could be literally anyone, right? It's not just like it could literally be like any fucking other group in two groups in history. It's not just like America and the Viet Cong, for fuck's sake.
And this is exactly like how it goes whenever people are like, oh, Star Wars, they just stole from Dune. And you're like, really, why? And they're like, oh, well, the desert planet at the start. And that's all however deep it ever goes. Like, this is the same fucking conversation because they're like, oh, it's a small group fighting against a big empire. And you're like, okay, and? Oh, that's... What more do you need? What are you talking about? It's a small group fighting against an empire. It's just like Vietnam War. It's like, okay, so that's as deep as it. Okay.
Okay there, buddy.
And just for the record's sake, the actual influences for the Galactic Empire have always been 4 different groups going on at once, right? Nazi Germany, the Roman Empire, the British Empire, and the Soviet Union. That's who the empire is based off. It's not America, okay?
It's all powerful empires that were trying to put down some sort of rebellion. Yes.
Yeah.
Lucas uses history as a backdrop to inspire his groups and his characters. Not like actually basing them off of like anyone in particular. Just using it as like a thinly veiled basis.
I've heard shit. I don't know how verifiable it is because I've never heard Lucas say this, but apparently people like to peddle the myth that Palpatine is based off of Richard Nixon, and I see no similarities between there, and no one I've asked has been able to point them out, so I don't know what the hell they're on when they say that.
Oh, when did Palpatine step out of office because he thought his Senate was going to throw him out?
Yeah. Well,
I mean, the only character that I know, I think for sure, that Lucas based on someone in particular is that he based Newt Gunray off Reagan.
Yeah, Newt Gunray is named after both Ronald Reagan and Newt Gingrich, but that's just like the name.
He wasn't even stereotypically Japanese. That doesn't even make any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, more of a Thai accent more than anything.
Yeah. This isn't how it's supposed to be.
I mean, people say that's offensive, but actually, I think it works for Neumonians.
I'm fine with them being based off a certain... You know what? They just did it in Andor, and nobody had a problem with it just because it was fucking French instead of Japanese or whatever, or Thai, you know. They had all the Gormans be like, merci beaucoup. It's like, why is that any different?
I mean, I'm Jewish, and I'm not mad over the Waldo being based off Jewish stereotypes.
Are you mad at Spaceballs because they literally just go, he's Jewish.
Waldo's Italian, not Jewish. What are you talking about, Evan? Yeah, I'm sure. That's not a Jewish accent. That's an Italian accent right there. I should know. I'm a fucking weirdo.
People compared him to Jewish stereotypes because he has like a giant ass nose.
Well, so do Italians. What the hell?
Well,
I'm
there
gonna have to
are,
look at that later.
but there are Jewish Italians as well, so this gets very confusing.
Yeah, exactly. There
Yeah, yeah, they're called pizza bagels.
Oh,
What?
Pizza bagels.
is that like a thing you'll get at a school lunch?
Yeah.
I wish
moving
I had
on.
school lunches.
We're getting off track here. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
against a highly organized empire, I think we call those guys terrorists today.
When I did it, they were Viet Cong.
Exactly.
Oh, Jesus.
So were you thinking of that?
He's a Hassan Piker subscriber.
See, look, James Cameron, who's a super fucking leftoid, he fucking led Lucas on that path. He cut it out, but Cameron did it.
One of my favorite things from Cameron, even though he's super leftoid, is he took Sigourney Weaver where she was like, "Oh, I don't know if I want my character firing this many guns. I think it was for Aliens." And he's like, "Well, why don't you come out to the firing range and we'll go ahead and fire some." And she's like, "Oh, that feels kind of nice." She was like firing like an M50 or something down the range. He's like, "Oh, there you go."
Here's a crazy thing that I've actually heard, and I'm not sure how verified it is, but it wouldn't shock me if it was true. Apparently, James Cameron regrets doing all of the Terminator movies because of how much guns are involved.
Oh my god.
Wish you would regret doing the Avatar movies instead.
Oh my god. Man, that man just lost his dick. Anyway, moving on.
Dude, think about that. You've made Aliens and you've made T1 and 2 by the time you're like probably 30 something. And then you're just like, you know what? I'm going to spend the rest of my life doing Blue People and taking 12 years in between each movie.
It's like you invented the pulse rifle, for fuck's sake, man. Moving on.
Drew from anti-war sentiments of the 70s when making his movie originally, but he also drew heavily from the imagery of Hitler, a military force that's put together, assembled, and adhering to the ideology of a singular Übermensch, a singular figure of great intimidating.
I'm pretty sure the average Star Wars super fan knows all this on the back of their hand.
Yes.
So what's his point here? What is he trying to get
He's
at?
explaining for the normies.
He's padding time.
Yeah, he's trying to get shit out of the way for the filthy casuals. Anyway.
Power and authority. However, when you're watching Star Wars, the first trilogy at least, you may get a sense that none of these military officials and all these guys are all that valuable. Because the film focuses mainly on Darth Vader as the avatar of the Empire. And as a result,
actually, a lot of the Imperial officials disagree with Vader and they say, oh, you're an ancient, forgotten religion. And they're all just basically like shitting on him. And Tarkin even says like, oh, you're the last remnant of that, ancient religion, my friend. Like, even though he's being friendly to Vader, he's even acknowledging like, this isn't like a big part of things anymore, Like, it's not like there's a bunch of Jedi running around opposing us. There's maybe one.
And I have to ask Ant on his point. It's like, oh, these guys don't really matter. The only one who matters is Darth Vader. It's like, are you speaking from like a Watsonian point of view or a Doyleist point of view? Because if it's a Watsonian one, then you're wrong there, because these guys still have roles within the Imperial, like military and government, etc. If you're speaking from a Doyleist one, then yeah, you're correct, but that's by virtue that they're background characters.
And just look at how the policy has panned out. The Death Star has been made. They have invested tremendous resources into this, even though Darth Vader says, don't put faith in this technological terror you've constructed. Like, Darth Vader basically shits on the Death Star constantly, and yet Palpatine and the rest of the Imperials are doing it.
The ability to destroy a planet is insignificant to the power of the Force.
Exactly. Like, he's completely disagreeing with what direction they're taking. So for him to say, oh, Darth Vader is all that matters for the Empire, it's like, no, clearly, like, it's the exact opposite of that. They're completely ignoring Vader. If they were with Vader, they'd be training a bunch of Sith or some shit.
Is Ant implying that fucking like Vader's like the only fucking guy they need? It's like his name is Darth Vader, not Darth Nihilus. Like, come on. Anyway.
Hey, there's a whole bunch of other people in this empire too. There's much more to the Empire than just Darth Vader and the Emperor.
We know!
Yes.
You just went over that.
Yes.
I like how he's like, but Vader's the only one that matters. I'm the first one to say that. But did you know that he's not the only one that matters? It's like, none of us thought that.
Yes,
you just
thank
said
you.
it.
Tarkin is right there. Thanks for pointing it out.
He's like, what if everybody was retarded except for Vader? But what if I told you not everybody is retarded except for Vader? It's like, oh, gee, thanks, Ant.
Yeah,
All
he
right.
tells us the title here. None of these military guys matter in Star Wars.
Anyway.
Grand Moff Tarkin is kind of the only representative we have of the cruel, indifferent governance of a fascist state. The militarized, singular, cold, sociopathic perspective. And I think because of that, we get a different sense of what the Empire really is. When Andor Season 2 debuted, there was a lot of controversy surrounding the depiction of assault in the series. And one
Here
specific
we go. Here we go.
YouTuber Star Wars Theory went on many videos, many discussions about how it felt against what Darth Vader would want.
Yes.
Yes, he's an idiot. We've been over this.
Of assault in Andor was against somehow the idea that Vader represented, because we sympathize to a degree with Vader. We see his fall from grace, his descent into darkness, and his redemption ultimately. We know at heart Vader as a person is a good man. He's just corrupted by darkness, rage, and his own depression, his own self-hatred. But because Vader is the representative of the Empire, we may get a false sense of what the Empire really is.
Okay,
we may
no,
think Vader...
no one does that. The only guy who does is Theory, and that's because Theory's just a fucking retard. Come on.
Theory thinks that like somehow Vader can personally oversee the entire galaxy according to his own moral compass. It's like, hey, I wouldn't rape that girl, therefore.
Oh my god. Is Ant literally just, is Ant about to go on a fucking, like, is this whole video just one big screed saying it's like, Theory's an idiot? Well then, I'd agree with that, but if the rest of it, if you're basically equating Theory to the entire fandom and saying like they're one of the same, no, Ant, you're wrong. We're not that retarded. Theory's his own fucking beast. Anyway, moving on.
That's why he's very split among the Star Wars fandoms. The ones on the left, the ones on the right.
Yeah, like he thinks that Theory represents
Hey,
the other side to his side. And it's like, no, like I even said whenever that idiot stopped by my stream earlier on the Lego Star Wars, he's like, oh, this guy must be a
Oh my
Theory
god,
fan.
casual hamburger, oh god.
And I'm just like, well, I agree with Theory in some instances. I don't base my opinions on him, but like, you know, some of the shit that he said during Stargrift was okay. And his, you know, standing up to whenever they invited him out for Star Wars Outlaws. And he was like, oh, well, I'm not just going to praise that. No, I don't want the invite if there's a stipulation that I can't say anything negative. I'm like, yeah, whenever he says something reasonable like that, absolutely, I'll agree with him. But you're confusing the motive with the conclusion. It's like, okay, I will agree with him when he says something that seems reasonable and he's transparent about something like that. But I'm not just going to agree with his opinions on a show or like Skeleton Crew or whatever. I still haven't watched. I don't really care. Like, and he was all like up its balls and everything. Like, I don't agree with him on that.
Fun.
Yeah, he's like, oh, George Lucas star, and like the whole like the fact you can also agree with a criticism for not the same reasons. Like, I didn't like the Andor assault scene because I felt like it was sloppy as hell, half-hearted, and just like came out of nowhere in order to try and make a cheap impact. It's kind of like the Chewie getting zapped out of the sky in The Rise of Skywalker, and they're like, "Oh my god, you killed Chewie!" Like they're trying to make a viral moment or impact or whatever. It's not because it's not because I don't think it belongs in Star Wars. I'm just like, this feels cheap and fucking reactionary and like Twitter culture almost. Where they're like, oh, this will get everybody talking, so let's do it.
I mean, my point and my thing as a whole, my view of the whole thing is that sexual assault in Star Wars, we kind of already knew it existed.
Yes.
Like there's talks of like sex slavery and human trafficking and all that.
And
having live action.
And even if we exclude the allusions to it, it's like it's already been depicted. It's been done, in the Legacy of the Force series. I don't remember which novel specifically, but it was done there. So yeah, and to hear
Spoilers.
and to
Pretty
I know
much something like that
and
in
to
Mark.
and yeah. Anyway, yeah, go on. Yeah, that's about
It
it.
does feel kind of a bit out of left field, out of nowhere, as I can attempt to make a statement. I don't think I'm not in the boat of thinking Darth Vader would not tolerate this. I'm in the boat thinking if the Empire or any higher ups caught wind of it, they wouldn't care at first. They'll just care more if it's getting in the way of, doing your orders.
I'd say so. Yeah.
To me,
If
Vader would
you're
only
you get
care
your
in
orders
so.
done and you're doing it just to kill time, then they'll probably be like, yeah, okay. Go on with it, have fun, just wash your hands afterwards.
Yeah.
Well, to me, like Vader would only care insofar as this will make more issues for us in the future. This will turn sentiment. It's gonna be some fires that I end up having to put out or something. Like it's more of an inconvenience than a huge moral stand, where he'd be like, "Why would you do this?" It's just creating an unnecessary obstacle for us. It's a headache,
Probably even think
basically.
you'll be better off just killing the bitch.
Yeah, he'd be like,
Probably.
"You must solve this problem, officer," and
I mean,
he'd kind of leave it at that.
do we not remember that one comic one shot
Oh,
with
I
the
remember that
Morgan
comic.
nurse who is
Yeah.
so obsessed with Vader, and then when she finally gets a chance to see him alone in the room with his mask off, she's going about how great they'll be together. He just impales her, and then he just walks away, going, "Take out the trash."
Yeah. No
Just like
joke.
Pepper Potts.
No. That is legit the best comic Disney Star Wars has made. No fucking cap. Anyway. Oh, moving
All right,
on.
let's see what Aunt here has to say about all the points we've just made.
Yeah.
Is the omnipresent force in the Empire. That it all comes back to him. Yes, I know the Emperor is the main figurehead of the Empire, but through the depiction of Darth Vader as this grand figure, that is the heavy for the Emperor, we get a false sense of what the Empire actually is about. Andor and
No.
Rogue One.
No. No. Why do you think that?
Does he think like that we think the Empire is great just because we sympathize? Not even sympathize, just like see why Darth Vader turned out the way he did.
Oh my god.
Like, this is where like people get fucking boring. Gary Stu, or I know Mary Sue triggers people, so I'll just say Gary Stu characters who just like immediately solve all their problems and shit. Like, no, we don't think he's a great person because he gets, you know, not revived. I'm trying to think of the word. Redeemed at the end in a way where it's like, oh, you already have saved me, Luke, and he gets to die in somewhat peace and be one with the Force. Okay, that doesn't mean that we think everything Darth Vader ever did was great. Like,
Right.
he
Pretty sure
lacks
even
the
Vader
moral
says himself that
complexity.
half the things he's done over the years have been,
Yeah.
atrocious.
It's like you can be a piece of shit and still seek redemption to a point where it's like, well, from now on, I'm going to try and be a good person. And that still means something rather than me just completely giving up because I've done some terrible things in the past. And I feel like Ant just like completely disregards any sort of moral complexity or any sort of moral development where he's just like, oh, well, as soon as you do one bad thing, fuck you.
Yeah, probably. Anyway.
Recenter it on the fascist structure of the Empire. We see the propaganda machine. We see how migrants are treated under the Empire. We see
Migrants. Oh god,
Migrants.
that was the
Oh
worst plot
god.
line.
Oh, fuck off.
The Empire
He was
treats
just
people
waiting to do
badly if
that.
they
Look,
need the resources to make the
he
Death
had that
Star.
line saved, and he just felt so high on himself when he said that with that clip.
That was one of the worst plot lines in Andor, where it was like, okay, we've already got the Empire needs to make this terrible weapon that destroys planets. That's enough of like a thing where it's like, okay, now they're going to throw out all their morals in order to make this weapon that they need to make. Instead, they threw in this stupid ass plot line where they're like, we're going to treat the immigrants different because, oh, guys, the Maryland man was treated so bad in the US. So let's make an allegory. And he's completely got in the way of their storytelling. And he's like, oh, it's just like the immigrants, guys. It's so great.
And look at
Ugh.
that. We got a Latina actress on top of all of it. It's like poetry,
Yay! It's
it rhymes.
rhymes.
Yeah, Bix is the only reason I stayed awake whenever she showed her ass.
Son of a Bix. Dude, I'm happy Bix had a kid and a son, no less. If only because now I get to continue my son of a Bix running gag. Anyway, moving on.
A massacre exists just to mine a resource from a planet.
Yeah, a massacre that they
treated-
had to rewrite the lore just to accommodate, for fuck's sake.
Which, as I was watching it, I was like, this was stupid the way that they handled it. They could have done it way easier this way. Like, I should have been a fucking Imperial officer. I would have made them way more powerful.
Yeah.
It'd be so easy, barely an inconvenience.
You just get a bunch of scientists to say, hey, dudes, trust the science. This planet's totally going to blow up if we don't evacuate everybody. And then you evacuate everybody and say, oh, no, it blew up, but we tried our best. All well. And then you get your resources. Everybody's evacuated. Nobody's mad at you.
Yeah.
And I'm certain they will gladly understand.
Yeah, well, you just say that they're misinformation or disinformation if they disagree. And you get all the unpaid scientists, disbarred or whatever the equivalent is.
Lights out, probably.
Yeah.
Also, I know this guy. He's cool.
And the circus. Moving on.
I got him to
He's
sign
like-
my copy of Golem, still my favorite collectible.
Oh,
Yes, I was telling me about that.
He laughed so hard whenever he signed it. I brought the little slip cover in. I'm just like, yeah, they didn't get you to voice this, did they? He's like, no, I heard it was really, really bad. It's like, yeah. I did a couple of the noises, like whenever Golem dies or whatever. I'm like, yeah, he basically goes, whenever he dies.
I mean, I'm pretty sure he felt the same way.
Oh,
with,
he's laughing like
The
hell.
Last Jedi. Like, he was super
Oh
excited
my
to
gosh.
Snoke again, but then he turned the page and says, Snoke is split in half, and it's like, aww.
Oh, that's right. I forgot he was even Snoke. They made a big deal out of that whenever that trilogy started, and then they just fucking cut him in half and left him.
I mean, the one thing that I will give credit for Andor for is that Tony Gilroy, I think I've heard that even he himself was a little crossed about how Andy was treated during the sequel trilogy, so that's why they wrote this character in for Andy, just to give him a new character. I'm like,
that's
oh,
still
he's a brand new character for you, so I can actually get some spotlight.
And it's the best part of Andor, and it makes sense because it's like, oh, he wasn't live action before, so we can have him. And he did like a creepy, like, get the son of Han Solo. Like he obviously sounds very different and everything. So it's fine to have him for multiple roles.
Yeah.
And he gave the best speech or whatever, but it still didn't make a lot of sense in the long run. They didn't have any aliens working on it, but all right.
Anyway.
We're all different, you and I. Shows a whole room full of humans.
Mhm.
Anyways, let's see what Anthony has to say about Andy Serkis' performance.
A commodity, or in some cases like an obstacle, that the very presence of society that exists on its own is something that has to be overcome. The whole thing with Gorman is that the Gormans are living on a planet that has this massive resource that Krennic needs to build the Death Star. And he just needs that resource. That's all he needs. And the easiest way to get it is to just mine the planet. Well, how do you mine it without people being upset? Well, you get rid of everyone living there first. And we see the fascist propaganda machine turn people against Gorman first, isolating them as a people before using systems of authority and control to justify the massacres enacted. The massacre scene at Gorman is so cleverly done because it is structured.
It's not clever.
No.
They couldn't even pretend to do it clever. Like they had to have a sniper just initiate everything. And also, it's like, it's such a boring set design and costume design. Like I was noting this like during my watch along where I'm just like, okay, so they're French revolutionaries in their little trench coats, and then these riot gear troopers they don't even bother to make it even slightly sci-fi. They're just like, oh, they have riot shields.
I
Good
was
for
about
them.
to say, this whole set design here, it looks more like World War II esque.
Yeah.
With
It
the
looks like
SWAT team uniform troopers.
Yeah,
pretty much
It's
modern day riot gear.
historical
I
periods.
I am willing to bet good money that if I showed like like any still images during this scene to my dad, who doesn't give a fuck about Star Wars, by the way, I'm willing to bet you that if I showed this to him and I told him, Dad, does this look like it's from Earth? I guarantee you he would say yes, because that's just how on Star Wars this is and how space fantasy this is. It's
That's why I
absolutely
said like it looked like 5 stormtrooper cosplayers in the middle of a French Revolution riot, where it
yeah.
was just like because they have the 5 stormtroopers walk down the steps, and all the fucking shills were like,
Like,
"Oh, I mean, the
oh.
stormtroopers so intimidating," and I'm like, they're not intimidating. They still miss everything. Like they're still goofballs. Like you're just saying this because the music is telling you to think that way, where it's like bomb, 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 and it's just like, and what do? They walk down and they start missing everybody, and then all the resistance fighters with rifles start missing them, even though they're standing on the steps in the complete open, easy to hit. Like, I'm sorry, the Gormans deserve to die. They're fucking retards. They can't aim and shoot.
And speaking of that, what was wrong with just how it was in the original fucking lore, where it was just, oh, it's like they don't want to pay their taxes, and then Tarkin pulls up and then just drops a fucking Star Destroyer on them. What was wrong with that? But no, instead,
They
well,
referenced that. They had Tarkin do the Gorman massacre, and they
yeah,
call it the Tarkin massacre.
yeah, great, thanks. That's what fucking longtime Star Wars fans want. Rewrites to the lore.
That just makes
Great.
it so silly because then it's like, okay, are we gonna have a third massacre on the same planet? Like, we're just gonna keep doing massacres here. We wrote it into the lore, guys, and then we made a whole another one. It's like, oh, okay, great.
All right, so we got 2 here that we really didn't need. I mean, we only really needed like 1.
Yeah,
Just one that everyone knew from heart. You don't need to add another one on top of it.
Yeah, and another thing about this fucking scene, like, it always pisses me off when people say, oh, well, this is way better than the old lore, because we actually get to know the people of Gorman. It's like, we don't fucking need to. It's like, it worked better as just a background lore event that wasn't explored and was only really there just to help reinforce the point that the Empire is not going to tolerate dissidents. That's really it. That you know what I'm saying? There's just some events in the backstory that work better just being said, mentioned, etc. We don't need to see them. You know, you guys get what I'm getting at?
Yeah,
of
well,
course.
and the way that they showed it lessens it as well because they're fucking crowding up on the riot gear people. They're pushing them. They're like jumping on them, basically. It's like, first of all, I would completely sympathize with these guys if they billy clubbed 1 or 2 of you to get you off them.
Yeah.
Like, you're being completely violent even before any shots ring out. Like, you're trying to push things to instigate. Yeah. And they're like, oh no, it all started with that sniper rifle. I'm like, no, these people are fucking crazy jumping on riot gear troopers before any shot rings out. Like,
Yeah.
you're destroying sympathy for them right off the bat.
Yeah.
Very realistically. It's presented as a riot that is being influenced through PSYOP operations, the Empire sending false information to the rebels and the resistance groups to make them protest in public in a certain area, setting them up.
Make them protest. No, they can't do that. They chose to protest.
These protesters as violent and unhinged before enacting a violent massacre on these people who essentially did nothing wrong but are ready to fight if need be because they're.
But they chose to protest, you dingus.
It's so vague that that's why it doesn't fucking mean anything. They're just like, oh, all they show of Gorman is a few blocks and like what, a few maybe there's a couple hundred people at that riot that ends up instigating everything, and they try and make that mean like a whole planet.
Yeah.
It's weird that this show has such a huge budget and it looks so small and cheap. It's just like they killed a few people in trench coats in this one plaza at this one monument. Therefore, the whole planet died. Oh my gosh, it's a genocide.
Oh
I
my
am
gosh!
90% certain that with as big of a budget that Andor has, a good portion of that was the paycheck for Diego Luna and Andy Serkis.
Perchance, yeah. I'm putting on some Tekken music. Ant is putting me to sleep.
Look, Andy Serkis was in
Life's
like
better
3
when
episodes of season 1. I can't put too much of the budget on him.
So you think you know Wix?
But yeah,
I don't
maybe
know.
Diego
I would say he can get away with the
We've got
in a big paycheck, especially if trying to bait him back into the franchise in case the Last Jedi left a sour taste in his mouth.
Oh, I see. Yeah, if he wanted to be like
Yeah, throwing a few
Snoke,
extras in there to entice him to come back.
be like Super Snoke. You're not dealing with the ordinary Snoke anymore, Ray. I am Super Snoke.
I'm taller. I'm darker. I have a nose.
I wear a platinum robe now instead of a golden one. Ooh, look at that.
And
She's
I
like,
shoot
"Yeah."
red lightning out of my balls.
Anyway, Gary can keep going now.
They're aware that they are already a target. They know they have to defend themselves, but by framing it as though they're the aggressors rather than those defending and fending off the Empire is able to spin the massacre in its own favor. And while some can recognize this for what it is, a lot don't.
What is it?
Given the emotional
So he's going to explain it.
sentiment that people did die on the Empire's side. And everyone seems to know someone who works for the Empire. Everyone knows someone who works for the government. So they have a personal connection. They lost someone, whereas this isolated people that no one in the grander empire or Coruscant or whatever knows, well, they can lose as many people as they want. There's no emotional attachment. They're the other. They're no longer a person. The banality of the empire is exposed in Andor, where it's very clever. We see these structures of power and control.
What the fuck is he even saying now?
I guess like there's more people in the Empire than there are on Garmin specifically, which is obviously true, but I'm not sure if that's really what Gilroy was getting at.
Oh my god.
Where a lot of petty, small people just seek more power, whether that's power over an individual they can torture or dominate, or the influences of power in terms of cutting down a person above them in rank to kind of get that accountability, get that responsibility. A rat race that ultimately leads nowhere, because no matter how much you rise up the corporate ladder of the Empire, you're never getting above Emperor Palpatine. You're never.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, no shit, Sherlock.
There's no reason to be in any sort of government unless you can get above the king or the president. What sort of fucking idiotic statement is that?
Also, Ant
Everything
is
above that.
oh, John, we had the perfect thumbnail. Ant was doing the Hitler salute. My God, you ruined the perfect thumbnail.
of the Empire.
Hold on, I got it.
You're never
I'm not controlling the video
Fuck,
anymore.
you're right. There it is. Hang on. Oh my God. You know what? I'll get it in post-production. Evan, just keep going.
He's even smiling as he does it.
You're never getting above that level. You're never getting above Darth Vader. Grand Moff Tarkin is always above you. Krennic is always above you. And the rank
Krennic
goes
is
down and
shit.
down, where each person is fiercely protective of their power and looking like an authority.
Yes,
Only
yes.
for them to be
People are
undermined
power
by
hungry. This is true in Hollywood as well, by the
Yeah.
way. Like, it's not fucking just fascistic regimes that have a power structure.
I mean, it's the same thing that goes on in, again, Hollywood, goes on in schools, goes on in law
Yeah.
enforcement.
Literally just like power structures and any sort of position of authority. Obviously, people don't want to give up their power, but they want to have someone handle their business. So they'll give up as much power as they need to have you manage their shit, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Be careful not to choke on your aspirations, Director.
Free AI
Now,
voice.
off topic, what did you guys think about that particular line? that Vader said in Rogue One, because I know when that movie came out at the time, there's a lot of people saying, "Oh, Vader wouldn't have said that. That's a little too cheeky and jokey for you to say that."
I get that he's made jokes before, but I feel like that one was a little bit on the nose or like uncreative, where it was sort of forced, I guess is the word I would use. Where like before he's just like apology accepted, that's sort of like context appropriate, or he didn't need to like throw it in there. Whereas this one felt more like, oh, he choked someone and then he said, "Be careful not to choke." It's just like it felt like he made his own joke right before he made it, rather than like playing into the situation.
Yeah.
I feel like he would have made a reference to the Death Star or something as like a joke if he was going to make one.
Yeah.
At the time, I didn't think much of it, but as I got older and looked back on it, I'm like, I think I'm starting to see the points that people were making here. Like, if he was just telling Krennic to stop your bitch and get back to work, then yeah, he probably could have said something along those lines, but of course the writers were trying to get cheeky with it, trying to say, "Oh, ho, 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 gentleman, evil gentleman laugh."
Yeah, I feel like they were like, oh, Darth Vader's made jokes in the past, so we can just have him make whatever joke we want in whatever situation. So they kind of used it as carte blanche to just like throw something in there like this. Whereas he would have just been like, "Your star is not the only thing that can bring death, Director," or something like that. Like he would have said something more like in context. Obviously, that's something off the top of my head, but it's just something more like scene appropriate, I suppose.
I think it's very telling how, if we take Andor and then Rogue One as one continual narrative, every single figure of the Empire is taken down essentially by either their own failure or someone else cutting them down.
So weird.
But there isn't
Puts his finger on her head and then starts walking around her in a circle. Like, who does that?
The best Star Wars since Empire Strikes Back, folks.
Treating her like a damn toy.
The best Star Wars ever, Backseater. They need to remake the OT with Gilroy.
Oh my god, I swear to god, if Gilroy tents that, I'm gonna find where he lives. I swear to god.
Lucas will. He'll be like, "Oh, Tony, I'm gonna use this flamethrower on you all."
The kids especially love that one. Anyway, moving on.
into this, and that's Cyril.
Who are you?
Cereal Boy!
Cyril is a character very interesting, I think, because he essentially is the pathetic toady.
He's fucking Archer. He's like, "Mother."
He has personality and mommy issues of Archer with the drip of Doctor Who.
Kinda, yeah.
A loser who has a non-important position of power, fails his way upwards, and is used as a convenient tool.
What? He's not filling his way upwards. He has a little administrative position. He still has a little, like, nothing administrative position. It just happens to be on the important world.
Yeah.
He doesn't fail his way up. He's not like a Moff or something at the end of this series. He's still just under Daedra, under the ISB. He's a little toady. Like, he's constantly shit on, and yet you're trying to act like he's some sort of, like, privileged or something. And also, I feel like what a lot of these shills don't acknowledge, and maybe it's because, like, season 2 was their last gasp to try and make the case for this, is that season 2 has a large drop-off.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
as someone who's... I'm going to shit on both of them, and I'll say, like, you know, season 1 had higher highs. It was more consistent. It was... Even though it was only covering 1 year, it didn't feel nearly as stretched out. Like, season 2... Even the people who like it, they're like, "Oh, those first 3 episodes sucked." I'm like, so you're saying a quarter of the series is supposed to draw us in sucks? I feel like that's a pretty big fucking, like, the best it can be is a 7 at that point, because you wasted a quarter of the series, even if the rest of it is perfect.
Yep. Gotta pad that runtime out. Anyway, moving on.
Also, is that fucking Tim Meadows right there?
The fat guy?
No, the
I'm
black
sorry.
guy, Tim Meadows.
Yeah. Ooh, I don't know.
No, hold on.
This is from season 1 because I know the guy on the right is Cyril's little supervisor from season 1.
Might be mistaken.
You white men have failed the
fails his
Empire.
way upwards and is used as a convenient tool for others to advance their own careers.
He's
He
not
is
even used that
meticulous with his
much.
appearance.
No.
Like his role honestly could have been taken out. Like he didn't really facilitate anything that the Empire did. He was mainly there to kind of get the resistance to be slightly more militant, I suppose. But they ended up pretty much distrusting him right away anyway. So he was pretty much just there for that final fight with Andor. It was supposed to be this epic confrontation because it was so rushed. It was just like, oh, hey, they're seeing each other again for the first time since season 1, and now he's dead.
And he's gone.
Yeah, it's like totally anticlimactic, and he really serves no purpose. They're just like, oh, we don't trust you, Cyril. And then they're like, oh, we still don't trust you. Anyway, we're going to this riot. Oh, we don't trust you. Oh my gosh, you betrayed us, Cyril. It's like, you never trusted me anyway, bitch. Like, what was I supposed to do? You weren't going to listen to anything I said.
Yep. Anyway, moving on.
Meticulous with how he conducts himself, how he can.
Okay, I just looked it up. That wasn't Tim Meadows.
Good.
But Tim Meadows did end up appearing on The Mandalorian, so
Oh no.
It was Denzel
that was
Washington.
kind of close.
I'm not sure what's worse.
It was Lawrence Fishburne.
Yeah.
controls himself. He is always aware that every opportunity can bring him a little step forward in the Empire, but he still is pissed off at Andor, a figure who was his first essentially his first failure was because of Andor in the Empire. He fell from grace because of Andor. And while he was able to eventually reclaim a position of power, he never lets go of that sense of frustration with Andor. He's always in pursuit of him at some level. Meanwhile, we find out Andor doesn't even know who this guy is. He's just another faceless cog in the machine of the fascist regime.
He's the Lupin the Third to his what the hell, the cop's name. I never remember the cop's name. Anyway.
Oh.
The Empire.
Who are you?
And so, when they finally confront each other again, Cyril is using Andor as a conduit for all his self-hatred. He blames himself to an extent for what's happening at Gorman. He feels like he was used by the Empire and by Deidre to enact this agenda that's hurting people.
My girlfriend isn't even hot, and now she's making me slaughter people. No!
Hey man, if I had a girlfriend who wanted me to slaughter people, I'd fucking do it.
Well, it depends how hot she was.
Oh, poor.
No, of course. If you get something
Sydney Sweeney
afterwards.
was like, hey, I need you to slaughter people as she leans over. I'd be like, ah, boobs. Yes, okay.
The ultimate superpower.
harm.
Yeah.
And he's left horrified with the only channel of his rage being this guy he pins all of his frustrations on. Again, fascist institutions.
Who's met like half a time.
redirected
Like, they feel like they built up this epic confrontation in
himself
season 1.
with someone else. A better way to control the needs that you have. And by doing that, the Empire is using Cyril essentially as a means to attack any obstinate forces, that in case being the Rebel Alliance. Meanwhile, Andor has no idea who this guy is. He is another cog in the Emperor's regime. When Andor asks, like, who are you? It stuns him. It stuns Cyril because he has no idea how to answer that question. He spent all this time hating Andor. And Andor did.
He's actually
really cool, but
he's highlighting something I didn't even think about, which is that Cyril's plotline in season 2 is completely forced, arbitrary, and inconsequential. He doesn't influence anything on Gorman. He's like Deidre organizes the whole like protests and everything. Cyril's basically kept out of the loop. He questions her at the very end whenever everything is already set and in motion, and then he immediately leaves, and then he randomly gets into a conflict with Andor. He's basically just there to have like an actiony climax to Andor's Gorman arc. But that could have just been literally anybody.
You're telling me they remember to give Cyril, like, fucking time in the story, but didn't remember to fucking conclude Cassian's missing sister? What the hell?
Yeah, they don't have Cyril actually influence anything. Like, he doesn't make the Gorman massacre any more legitimate because the rebels never trust him or, like, change their strategy according to him. The Empire never changes anything according to him. He's just like, oh, they're gonna protest. And they're like, yeah, we already knew they were protesting the whole fucking time. Like,
didn't even know who he is. In a lot of ways, that's very similar to the means through which the actual fascist regimes function. The average person who resists fascism is almost always more remembered than those who enact the fascist agenda, whatever that agenda might be. Star Wars...
I agree, and like the silent prayers in London and in England who get arrested for silently praying outside an abortion clinic. Isn't that a wonderful statement against this fascistic thought control that the UK is implementing?
Oh my god.
You know, if you post crime statistics in the UK...
I wish Hawk was still here to say some shit about that.
The funny thing is, he wouldn't be allowed to say anything because the actual fascistic shit is not what Andor thinks it is. It's what's fucking going on in Germany and the UK. And they're just like, no, that's just tolerating intolerance. That's a paradox. Oh.
On this couple big guys in the Empire. But all the little guys get ignored. They kind of get lost to the shuffle because they're not really that important in the vast scheme of things. But we still remember them. There's still some characters who see it on occasion.
You remember them because the show framed them and told you to.
Now he's back.
Yeah.
Also, pardon me.
Great thumbnail, by the way.
That's the thumbnail right there. Yeah.
He puts his nose up at you. It's just like
Ugh.
the French laugh. He's just like,
Yeah.
In Return of the Jedi. And what's he doing here? You know, who knows? It's like all these character actors we recognize.
There's no Jedi in Andor.
Their names. I mean, I know they have names. They have lore in the Star Wars wiki or whatever. But like, no one really knows who. Especially like a hardcore Star Wars fan.
Oh, he's trying to dismiss the Kiadi-Mundi thing.
They care about Darth Vader because he's cool and powerful and has an interesting arc that's divorced from the Empire.
Wait, I thought Andor was supposed to be sophisticated, make you think more. You're saying not to think now? Okay. Only think about it when it's convenient to me.
Yeah.
He himself tried to push. But I think it's very interesting how with Andor we now focus on those little guys, all fighting for control over matters that seem very petty, but also very realistic. Star Wars, up until this point, I feel has never really felt like a...
Star Wars has done stories that focus on the little guy or the background characters. Ever heard of the Tales of the X sub-series? Like Tales from the Blank. There we go. Tales of the Blank. Like Tales from the Mos Eisley Cantina, for example. That whole book is just a bunch of small little short stories about all the people in the Mos Eisley Cantina when Luke and Obi-Wan meet Han and Chewbacca. So they've done this shit before. This is nothing revolutionary for Star Wars, you dumbass.
Also, I just want to point out real quick. This is also another fun thumbnail.
I like the other one.
Eyes closed, his lips puckered up.
That's his cereal boy's ass. Yeah.
It's always felt a little artificial because they're the spacecraft and the lasers and the force and all that, and it's mystical and grandiose, and it's centered on a few families having this massive impact on the greater scheme of the universe. But the problem is ultimately that because it's this greater scheme, because it's this greater, larger thing, we never really stop to think, well, what about everyone else?
Why
what about the
should
normal...
we? It's like, this is still a story today. We don't have time. We don't have fucking time to fucking, like, get the backstory on every single fucker in, like, one movie or one show. Why the hell do you care?
Another thing I also want to point out, I think it's a lot fun if certain characters don't get that much of a big, grandiose backstory. Because the appeal of certain characters is how one-off they are. That's why the Gulab Shido meme really took off, because certain characters just have like one-off appearances, have like a very unique look to them, have like one iconic line or whatever. Is that what makes them unique? We don't need any more.
Dude, no joke. I fucking hate that meme. I'm sorry, Evan.
Really?
I really do. Cause I can't put into words, but I just do. I really do. And not help but the poster child of that meme is the fucking slug from the end of The Rise of Skywalker. I really just do. I can't put into words, but I hate it. It's probably because, like, the name does not sound like a Star Wars name at all. I just hate that meme so much.
Maybe because the slug at the end of Rise of Skywalker reminds you of how bad that movie was. It's like a just big reminder.
Yes. Anyway, moving on.
I can understand that.
People who fight and die for the rebellion. What about the people who are piloting these TIE fighters, who are managing these weird office jobs under the Empire?
For the record, I want to say, I'm not saying you can't have these stories that focus on, like, background characters and give them some extra stuff. But I'm just saying it's not necessary, and it shouldn't be the priority of the storytellers. That's my point.
Because you know society
Evan,
has
go
to
back
keep
10
going
seconds.
on.
I was so I interrupted him. Go back 10 seconds. All right, go ahead.
What about the people who are piloting these TIE fighters, who are managing these weird office jobs under the Empire? Because you know society has to keep going on. Star Wars The Original Trilogy is more focused on these outskirt planets. We see Tatooine, which is basically a den of scum and villainy at times. We see Hoth, a big winter planet. We see Dagobah. We see all this other stuff, but we rarely ever see just a normal city like we do in the prequels. The Original Trilogy is very removed from tangible society.
Partly because
each of the places.
Partly because the OT had only so much money lying around for all of them, even with the budget boost in 5 and 6, that we just don't have the fucking. We just don't have the budget to really do that. That's the doyless reason. The Watsonian reason is they have no reason to go there, so why would they? Oh, and I just heard, we actually do go to a city in one of them. Cloud City from episode 5. Did you forget that, Ant? Probably did.
Probably.
For fuck's sake.
Anyway, Star Wars
cancel Disney Plus.
Rather than a real place people can live in. And or the opposite approach.
Fuck off with this fucking Star Wars isn't realistic enough nonsense.
I'm so happy we finally got realistic Star Wars. They should remake everything in this image.
Most of it is spent looking at villages populated with people. We get the sense of Coruscant as a center of business just as much as a center.
Hold on, and if you want more, locations where people live in, cities, villages, marketplaces, that's fine. I can accommodate you on that, but don't make it fucking realistic. This is supposed to be a galaxy far, far away, and not only that, but a long, long time ago. In that galaxy, it should not be it should not look like literally the world outside my window right now. I hate the world outside my window. I want to escape to something else.
You got a brown lawn or something?
Yeah, what?
You got a brown lawn or something outside your window. It's not so good of a yard.
No, I literally just hate the world outside my window. I just do. It's I want to fucking go to when I watch something with the Star Wars name on it. I don't want it to feel like it's on fucking Earth in Anno Domini 2025. Fucking crap. I'm sorry. I hate that argument so much. Moving on.
I'm surprised the Gormans didn't go from the river to the sea. Gorman shall be free. Because Gilroy's so fucking lazy, he can't make anything even slightly sci-fi or abstract. He doesn't trust people to get the allegory, so he's like, you know what, we're just gonna make it the same. At least how I perceive it.
center of the Empire or the Republic's actions. We get a sense of how ordinary people live their lives while functioning within the Empire.
And speaking of the Empire, we're like fucking like how long is this? We're like 11 minutes into a 34-minute video, and he hasn't gotten to how they're all cowards. What the fuck? He's just wasting time.
Well, you know, you gotta pad
The
that.
systems of control that we're now seeing in Star Wars. Previously, these systems of control were very nebulous. They were very nondescript. But now
They were
we
in
see
the
that they are
books.
a very
It's a movie where they were already established, yes.
elaborate system of control. These are very elaborate ways that it influences every component of your life. And it's universal. It is universal. I know a lot of people will say, oh, it's this country or it's that country, but really it's a universal kind of thing. Because when you break it down,
Good to see you finally get it. It's not just like one thing. At least there's that.
authoritarian rulership often functions in the same way almost every time.
So this is how liberty dies.
Hey, wait a minute.
Hey, that's not Benjamin Brad. What the hell?
I have a plan. I have a plan, Andor.
I am going to tear the shit out of this place.
Yeah, fuck this shit.
Man, Benjamin Brad.
Although I will say, even before they got rid of him, they had Jimmy Smits, of course, to deliver the line, "I know we agreed to silence, but your silence worries me."
With thunderous applause.
The prequels are an example of a series of movies with great ideas but poor execution.
Oh my god, I swear to god, Ant is literally just fucking with me when he says that. It's like he knows, ooh, Backseat's totally gonna fucking watch this, so I'm gonna say the shit that's just gonna rile his ass up! I swear to god, he had to have put that line in there, because he knew, the motherfucker knew that I was going to fucking watch this video and fucking spurg out over that line. He had to have put that in there for me. I swear to God, he had to.
My allegiance is to the Republic, to democracy.
If you're not with me, Ant, you're my enemy. Oh wait, you are. Oh wait, you're still my enemy, even if you're with me. Never mind.
Allegiance is to the Republic, to democracy!
In the prequels, we watch as Emperor Palpatine rises to power not through force. He doesn't overtake the Republic. He integrates himself in the Republic for the long game. Over the course of decades, he slowly
We know what the plan is.
It's all part of the plan.
Chips away at the checks and balances to suppress his power and uses public influence and propaganda to turn the public and the systems of control that he's now completely all in control of in order to attack any obstacles to his rule.
The Republic will be reorganized into the first galactic.
Just like 2020, you're so right, Ant.
Yeah.
Yeah. Badass speech, by the way, from Palpatine.
Yeah, that's a good speech, yeah.
Uses the Jedi as a scapegoat to gather more power, turning a republic into an empire
And
in order
we
to
know
stop.
the plot of the movies. You don't have to explain it all. Fuck. Oh my god, let's
Funny
keep
'cause
going.
You would have loved the prequels if they were coming out whenever he was making videos, because they were against like George Bush and shit. So you would have been like, "Oh, they have modern allegories and they're so prudent to our times." But now because he's so fucking after the fact, he's just like, "Oh, they have poor execution. They don't have anything to say about our modern times. How do they not predict 20 years in the future? What the fuck?"
A military coup, or at least a military coup as perceived by the public. PR is very important throughout Star Wars. Democracy falls not so much through the actions of some military force that conquers the Republic, but rather with thunderous applause as the Empire becomes a replacement.
Now he's just rephrasing movie lines.
Oh my god, is he that lazy? Oh
It's
my
how
god.
Liberty dies, is the thunderous
He played
applause.
clips of Padme saying, "So this is how democracy dies." With thunderous applause.
He's literally just quoting her. Oh no, well, not quoting. He's literally just paraphrasing her. Yes.
Now in this frame, he's picturing Natalie Portman saying that. He's like, oh.
Well, no, Aunt's gay, so he wouldn't fantasize about her.
He's picturing Jimmy Smits next to her. He's like, oh.
Aunt says he's bisexual, but let's be real, he's gay. Anyway.
For the system of power.
Also, I'm willing to bet he's all for West Bank, Gaza, and take Israel stuff. And Natalie Portman is from Israel, so I don't think he'd be taking Natalie.
I didn't know Natalie Portman was born in Israel. You learn something new every day.
She certainly is. So I'm pretty sure she's one of the few Israeli celebrities who are all for being pro-Palestine and all that.
Traitor! No, I'm just kidding. I don't care.
Like the anti.
Anyway,
previously established. In a lot of ways, it is similar to ancient Rome. With the death of Julius Caesar, Augustus Caesar revamped the Roman Republic.
Okay, hang on. So he's brought up the fucking Nazi Germany, Roman Empire. We can kind of say he's brought up the Soviet Union because he touched on the Cold War. So I'll let him cheat and get that. If he brings up the fucking British Empire, then I will literally be like, I called everything. Oh my god. It's like, it's literally, I'm that ahead of the curve when it comes to Star Wars than Ant is.
No.
Yes. Anyway.
Give him some credit. I would say you and him are equal footing, except you are a lot more blunt, and you will say what we absolutely know for sure, and you will call any information that people will, try to add on, but it's cap.
You're goddamn right.
To the Roman Empire as a means to maintain a stronger sense of control, to reduce the threat of public personas and public figures being attacked by an unruly Senate that will rebel even through violence if necessary. It's that interesting concept that Star Wars explores. It doesn't explore it well in the prequels, in my opinion.
That's not one of the themes of Star Wars at all. You'd think a guy who's all about themes would know what the actual themes of the 6 movies are. For fuck's sake.
Well, Backseat, you clearly don't know the actual themes, because if you did, you would understand that, the themes are so thematic and stuff.
And just for the record, for anyone who's curious, the themes of Star Wars, all 6 of George Lucas's films, or rather the 6 films, I should say, is the eternal nature of the battle between good versus evil, and how people can be brought to either side by a single choice. Good exists where you may least expect it, and even the worst people can find redemption by facing their pasts. How big things can be beaten by something small, and how being motivated by anger and hatred ultimately leads to self-destruction, and how patience, discipline, and faith can help you make peace with yourself and others. There you go, folks. Anyway.
And it doesn't do so because we never get a sense of how the average person sees
hey, it's Ant's audience.
How the average person sees the Senate or the Jedi. The Jedi are living in a lofty little apartment complex.
Ant, are they main characters? No? Then why should we care?
I hate how the whole the Jedi have flaws has turned into just you can shit on the Jedi in whatever the way you want, and they were actually worse than the Sith, and they're the worst thing ever to happen to the entire galaxy.
Yeah, last time I checked, the Sith didn't just go around casually murdering people.
People just use this as an excuse for everything. Well, Lucas said the Jedi were flawed. Yes, he said they were flawed. He didn't say they were literally as bad as the Sith. People use this during the Acolyte, where they're oh, the Jedi are evil? Well, of course they were evil. They were evil during the prequels. I'm no, they weren't evil during the prequels. They were flawed. There's a big fucking
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, I fucking hate it. I'm sorry, Evan. I fucking hate it when purporters of the gray Jedi BS use that to say that, oh, well, this is why you should go in the fucking gray, because they just do not understand Star Wars when they say garbage like that. If they understood Star Wars like how you're supposed to, they would not believe this gray Jedi BS. There is no gray Jedi Order. Evan, what were you gonna say?
I would say another good word to describe the Jedi isn't just flawed, but perhaps ignorant.
Yes. That was the Jedi. Yes, that was the Jedi's
arrogant.
biggest. That is the fatal flaw of the prequel era Jedi Order. They were ignorant to the threats around them, and they were ignorant to how politics work. That is their fatal flaw. Their ignorance. And he just
stagnant, perhaps too much politics.
Position that they literally could not force sense or perceive any sort of like counterplan like around them.
And even if they wanted to,
the dark side clouds everything.
Literally, the dark side was literally clouding their visions during this point. Literally. Anyway.
So it all makes sense. We didn't need shows like The Acolyte to try and undo all that.
Yeah.
But that's a topic that's been done to death.
Yeah. Anyway.
Complex overlooking all of Coruscant, essentially. They're in the Jedi Temple, but the temple is so far removed. The cars that drive around the Coruscant in the prequels, they're set dressing. They're not really there to move characters we care about from place to place.
What about Obi-Wan when he's chasing Zam Wessel? How about that?
Fuck does that even mean? Like, of course there's a bunch of... You ever drive around a road? There's a bunch of cars that aren't transporting you, your own main character, to where you want to be. Of course there's a bunch of... That doesn't mean it's set dressing. Like, I mean, it is technically, but not in a negative way. Where it's like, of course, he's trying to excuse the fact that there's no fucking traffic in the Acolyte. There's no traffic any other time. It's like... Yeah, there's a lot of people that live on Coruscant. Of course there's going to be a lot of traffic. Like, what's the problem here?
Sound traffic, get to the
Do you think that there being a lot of people in a city or a planet makes our characters seem less important? Because I don't.
If anything, it makes them stand out because we're following them, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, like,
Exactly.
obviously we know there's a lot of people on Coruscant. We get told by Captain Exposition in episode 1 where he's like, the whole planet's one big city.
I think his name's... I always forget that guy's name. I'm sorry, I'm a fake fan. I know, I'm a fake fan. I think it's like...
Every single one of his lines is exposition is all I remember. Where he's just like, they have a blockade around the whole planet. Oh no, that little droid's gonna do it.
The captain... I'm looking up his name because I'm legit bothered by how I don't know it.
It is funny though, and I'm not like a prequel hater or anything, but it is funny in his role where
Panaka,
like
that was it. Anyway.
Yeah. Oh, because he's the eye patch guard during episode 2. Whenever he's like, he immediately says something wrong. Then where he's like, "Oh, I guess there was no danger after all," and an immediate explosion.
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh shit, I jinxed it. Fuck."
Damn. Moving on.
Demonstrate a bustling city, but unlike, say, Isaac Asimov's Foundation, we never get a sense of how the city functions as a city. We never get a sense of how the average person might live.
Unless it's important to the plot, we don't need to know.
Does he want like a whole fucking Coruscant origin story?
Yes.
Star Wars Origins.
You know what? They had that before Disney bought it. It was called Star Wars 1313.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be an Uncharted-like Amy Hennig backed video game where you were going to play in the lower levels of Coruscant.
No, John, that was Ragtag. That was a Disney game.
Oh.
Yeah. So maybe it was a good idea that got canceled, yeah.
Wait, but there was a Star Wars 1313.
Yeah, you are right there, yeah.
Okay.
Structures beneath the ground which they live in. Andor is interested in that. And because it's interested in that, we see more how the average person experiences propaganda, how it influences their worldview.
I'm not buying Gorman again. I'm sick of it. They were always too good for the rest of us.
Cyril's mother's a great example of this. How, through the anti-Gorman propaganda, they're able to manipulate her into seeing certain people as undesirables in society, and she is played like a string when Cyril dies and she's heartbroken over it. We see a sense of why the average person would not want to rebel in the Empire.
Propaganda. Marjorie, you're being sold these ideas.
My poor boy. Your gullibility is breathtaking.
We get a sense of why the average person would align themselves with an institution that we are told throughout all the other films is a system of pure evil. In the sequel trilogy, we watch at a certain point where the First Order does have a more aggressive approach on the New Republic. In The Last Jedi, they send a distress signal out at their last stop at Crate.
Jesus.
And not a single
He's trying to redeem The Last Jedi.
For shame.
Responds to the distress signal. The Resistance is left hopeless because no one is coming to save them. I remember the complaint when The Last Jedi came out was, why is no one going out to save them? Why would no one go out to help the Resistance fight the First Order?
They send a desperate signal for help out into the galaxy and pray that some Resistance sympathizers respond. They even use Leia's...
This is a completely different situation. Also, like, they just nuked the entire galactic... Well, the whole fucking sequels don't make any sense because they just, like... They randomly nuke a few planets and then, like, the entire galaxy falls under their rule immediately. Even though they only have, like, a few fleets in, like, the outer or the unknown regions. And then, like, the Resistance is like, hey, we're 30 people inside of a cave. Come help us. It's just like, it shrinks the scale so much that it's like, yeah, I kind of understand why nobody wanted to come to help them. Because obviously it's a losing proposition. Yeah, it all is just completely nonsensical.
Moving on.
Ode, but spoiler alert, no one comes. This makes no sense for a couple reasons. First of all,
wow, just like your sex life, Ant.
Well, apparently Ant has a kid on the way. I say
no.
I say apparently because no proof has ever come forward that he has a kid, let alone a wife. It's like they
want to bet on the shade of that kid.
They keep. It's like Ant keeps saying, "I'm gonna be a dad," but it's like I'm like, okay, where's the you got pics of your pregnant wife? It's like put them forward, bro. He doesn't. He fucking doesn't. Probably because he knows that he's full of shit.
Backseater's gonna be like Ellie. He's gonna be like, I'm gonna be a daddy.
It's like, hang on, hold on. I'm like, all right, there we go. I was like, where's the fucking kid, Ant? Anyway, moving on.
Where's the trigger?
Just not show up. If this really is the Resistance's final stand, then why was everyone else just sitting on the sidelines? And second,
because the Resistance has like 20 people. I would not blame anybody for sitting out of that shit. Where they're like, oh, by the way, we have retarded Asian women like crashing into our one hope to stop the door from being breached. By the way, this bitch is sabotaging our one escape attempt.
It's like you're going the wrong way, Rose.
Ooh.
I just had to. Come on, it was low hanging fruit. I just had to.
Something wrong. We too low.
I'm so sorry, everyone, but come on. All right, moving on.
We're going the wrong way.
Yes.
The heck did they come the second time in The Rise of Skywalker? It feels to me like the mentality would have been something along the lines of, well, we didn't go last time and they were fine. We probably can skip this one out and they'll live.
Well, it's because they're content. The reality
He's trying to redeem The Rise of Skywalker.
Andor, people can live in the Empire. They can function. If they keep their head down and don't cause any trouble, they're not the active targets of the Empire at that moment. We see how,
that's how it is
the
in
Senate,
every fucking civilization. Just keep your head down, don't cause problems, and you'll get by. That's every fucking government. Like, let's be real here. Come on. This is a non-point.
when Gorman is attacked, and they watch one of their own senators, the Senator of Gorman, getting arrested, they comply immediately. They bend the knee and they just echo the Emperor's statements. They echo the sentiments against Gorman because it's easier to go along with a system of power that isn't actively hurting you. But the reality is, we know from the very first film, A New Hope, that the Senate will be dissolved before the Battle of Yavin.
The Imperial Senate will no longer be of any concern to us.
Right.
I have just received word that the Emperor has dissolved the Council permanently.
All of these senators will be targeted and dismantled as part of an erosion of the Old Republic. Because with the Death Star, they have no need for the illusion of control.
Fear will keep the local systems in line. Fear of this battle station.
The Senate only exists to create an illusion that the people do have influence, that they can choose a replacement leader for an old one to represent their star system. But in reality, the Empire is only using that as a stopgap, as a temporary measure, until they get the Death Star to properly establish a sense of authority. You can't fall out of line not because your representative is here trying to fight for you. You can't fall out of line because if you don't obey the laws of the Emperor, a giant machine in space the size of a moon will come down and blow up your planet. It's a simple, over-the-top measure, but the idea of force as a means of control is a big one. And a lot of fascist regimes eventually lead to that after the illusion of control that people have no longer poses value to the positions of power at hand. But ultimately speaking, the Emperor comes for everyone. The Empire destroys those who help maintain it to allow new faces to come in. It's like old teeth wearing down and a new one comes.
Nah, it's always been a stupid thing. Because it's like, he's not just going to arbitrarily attack people. He attacked Gorman because they had a resource that he needed. If he gets rid of all of his constituents and all the people paying taxes, then he's going to lose all of his own power. So he's not just going to go, oh, well, they were silent, so I guess I can kill them now. It's just like it's such a rash oversimplification, and this is the classic Andor thing where they're like, oh, it's so deep and complex and sophisticated, and they simplify it to the dumbest possible terms.
Oh my god.
There's a new almost
Yeah, I was asking earlier, but I'm not sure you heard me. But you want me to just look through the
No, let's keep going. Let's keep going. I'm still not 100% bored yet. I'm like 66% bored.
We got
let's
15
keep going.
minutes or so left. Let's do it.
Let's power
interchangeable
through it.
replacement for everyone, and once you've outlived your usefulness, you will be discarded like you were nothing at the first slip up. Meanwhile, in Star Wars, the rebels mess up all the time. They make mistakes, they fail, and while these failures sometimes cost them dearly, they can still keep fighting. There's always hope for a better tomorrow. Whereas in the Empire, every individual component has a lifespan. When that lifespan is exhausted, they are gone and interchangeable with the
Rebels die too.
Yes.
Like, whenever the rebels fail, a lot of them die. Whenever the Empire fails, a lot of them die. Like, that's actually... You keep making me like the Empire more, Ant. You need to stop doing that. You're gonna make me a fucking fascist by the end of this video.
Idle Palpatine! Anyway.
Yeah. Like, maybe Palpatine did nothing wrong.
Yes.
We don't care who the various people running the Empire are in Star Wars.
We don't care about Cyril. You're right about that.
Yes.
None of
God
them
he's dead.
really stand out.
Yeah, he literally got shot in the head, and instead of like a gasp, like a, oh, I was like, oh, okay, I guess he's dead now.
And he's gone.
He was pretty much irrelevant by that point anyway. He literally just attacked Andor out of a random sense of protection for a Horsetooth lady or whatever, but he was already pretty much thrown out of the Empire at that point anyway, so it really didn't matter.
Meaningless, interchangeable. And I think what Star Wars has really done is illustrate how our perceptions of them as interchangeable really feeds into how feudal everything the individual empire people do. You know, all the imperial agents and officers, they are interchangeable to us as audience members, but to them it's a career with glory and value. Meanwhile, in the movies, they're gunned down in seconds and no one cares. No one even thinks about them.
Wow,
No one cares
who knew
that.
Ant was such a nihilist? Holy shit.
Jesus Christ, dude! Like, yeah, you're not always the main character. Do you suffer from main character syndrome?
I think he
like,
does. Yes.
I'm sorry,
Probably
but
did
you
one
are
of those.
always a cog in a machine to a certain extent. Like, you're never gonna be like 100 times more important than everybody else in the world. Like,
I'm just surprised we figured out And is this big of a nihilist. Holy shit.
Yeah. This is like Backseater going like, well, why would I even make this video? Asmongold will just make a bigger video than I will. And,
Yeah.
and even he doesn't matter because the overall YouTube blah, blah, blah. It's just like, dude, I get it. Like, you're not the only person that matters. Doesn't mean you don't matter. Like...
More like a dude, it's not that deep moment.
Yeah.
Grand Moff Tarkin was blown up with the Death Star, and all of his crew members.
I'm sorry that the whole Empire doesn't collapse every time somebody dies in it. What do you want? Like, this is true with the Rebel Alliance too. A rebel dies, they don't all go, "Oh shit! Such a glub shitto died. Oh no!"
They
let's
all
quit."
they all like collapse and they ragdoll like it's like Source filmmaker, like it's the Euphoria engine. Like, ugh.
Like, what the fuck do you want, dude? Like, I'm sorry, individuals.
Alright, it's like, okay, no one died. We all share the same life. Oh my god. Anyway, moving on.
With Star Wars fans, I think Kevin Smith was the reason why.
The second time around, it wasn't even done being built yet. It was still under construction. So a construction job of that magnitude would require a hell of a lot more manpower than the Imperial Army had to offer. I bet they brought independent contractors in on that thing.
All right, so they bring in independent contractors. Why are you so upset at its destruction?
All those innocent contractors brought in to do the job were killed. Casualties of a war they had nothing to do with.
This started where it's like, what about all the independent contractors in the Death Star? What about all those guys? Well, they
Yes, thank you. We heard the scene. Thank you.
Oh my god. What's the point of even showing the scene if you're just gonna repeat it, for fuck's sake?
You know, a lot of people die in a war. Doesn't that just make everything meaningless? Oh.
He's probably thinking.
All
thinking
around me are familiar faces, worn out places, worn out faces. Anyway, moving on.
The Empire, essentially.
And speaking as a roofer, I can tell you Roofer's personal politics comes into play heavily when choosing jobs. Any contractor working on that Death Star knew the risk involved. If they got killed, it's their own fault.
I'm sorry, do you mean to watch Clerks in order to make Andor good, or what's going on here?
Oh my god, I swear to god, and better not be making that fucking argument.
I will say, I would rather watch Clerks again than watch Andor.
I haven't even seen
absolutely.
Clerks, and I'd rather watch it than Andor, yes.
It's just funny that he's playing these massive clips from it in order to make us care about some random fucking Imperial or rebel that died in Andor. These are half-joking scenes, by the way.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, this is a comedy movie, for fuck's sake. Anyway.
I'm not supposed to take anything they say in a comedy movie seriously.
Yeah, or at least not 100% seriously, yeah.
well, when your arguments are a joke.
Good
Everyone
point.
laughs.
Yeah.
Now, Kevin Smith's gag was, what about the independent contractor who put, like, such and such, the big vent in the Death Star? Well, we know who that guy is now. Galen Erso.
Shut the fuck up.
There are a whole fucking team of architects, not just, like, one guy. Where's Bevel Lemelinsk, for fuck's sake? Anyway.
We humanize them. We know what his motivation is. We know that he died with the hope that his little imperfection in the Death Star would lead to its ultimate destruction.
Dude, that is such a stupid fucking plot point. I'm not gonna fucking sugarcoat that.
And all the while, I laid the groundwork for my revenge.
That the means of undermining the Empire came from rebels working within it, which led to all this grander stuff. Now, in the original trilogy, Death Star plans are already got. We have them already. But with the Andor into Rogue One story arc, we see the events that led to those plans being.
Why is he leaving all these fucking gaffes? He keeps misspeaking and
undermine the threat of the Empire. the story of grand heroes and all that. That's all well and good. There's a human cost to every success. A lot of
get it, people die. Like, we saw that.
Empire, every single person there, every officer succeeds and succeeds until
we're all
they
just gonna
don't,
die.
and
What's the
their
meaning of
failure
life,
is
man?
erased.
Oh, actually, what he just said is fucking wrong. He's like, oh, the Empire, everybody succeeds.
A vague general statement about the human cost of that got us to this point. They don't matter. They're not human. They're human, but they're not human. And that humanity barely matters
Oh
to
my
the
god. It's like I fucking can't with this man.
Dude, like, a bunch of people die during the Rebel assault on the Death Star. A bunch of rebels die whenever Vader storms that ship right at the beginning of A New Hope. The human cost has never, ever been just brushed over in Star Wars. The human cost has always been shown.
Many Bothans died to get these plans.
Well, and I'm just like sticking to the first movie just to like fucking counteract his point from the very beginning. It's just like the Empire comes in and the stormtroopers immediately shoot a shit ton of the rebels.
That's literally part of their job.
And then like during the trench run, everybody fucking dies except for like Luke and Han, pretty much.
Luke, Han, and Biggs, yeah.
They
No,
just
not
get,
Biggs.
like, mowed
Fuck!
down.
Luke, Han, and Wedge. Fuck! How did I get that wrong?
Oh,
Fuck.
yeah. Because you were thinking about Bix's ass. Oh, wait, that was me. but like, seriously, like, he sees people like Porkins, even Porkins, he's like, oh.
The fat guy, no!
He blows up in a ball of flame. Then, like, there's so much death and loss, and then, like, they're about to be destroyed complete. I'm sorry that, like, the whole Rebel Alliance doesn't get annihilated by the Death Star, dude. But, like, I feel like most people above the age of 3 can understand that a lot of people died in order to achieve this victory. Like, you don't need to act like, oh, it's a fairy tale. Nobody dies until Andor. It's like, are you forgetting Order 66 scene, like in the prequels, whenever all the Jedi are getting slaughtered?
No, John, they weren't characterized. They weren't human enough for their deaths to matter.
He's not a speciesist. He hates Plo Koon because he's not a human. I'm sorry.
Hashtag cancel Ant. He hates Keldor. Oh my god, let's keep going.
Authority that they are establishing. They are not human. They are a cog, if even that.
Oh, the Keldor are a cog.
Hashtag cancel Am. He's not all Keldor cogs. Oh my god, not all Keldor.
That could be switched out and replaced to no greater loss. A while back, one of my first videos was comparing Star Wars to Dune, and I said that Star Wars is.
Well, I guess he said, "Oh, they both start on a desert planet." Oh, it's practically the same story, guys.
Yeah, totally.
Science fiction, and all the comments were like, "Oh, it's actually fantasy." Actually, you get what I'm trying to say. It's not great just as a collective compared to Dune, which I think of as great science fiction, as this great story of fanaticism, of the way that
Dune has a completely different objective and therefore a completely different
Paul
story.
Atreides becomes a figure, a messiah, the Kwisatz Haderach, Muad'Dib.
Kwisatz
And in
Haderach.
doing so, he becomes a figure of revolution. But from there, he leads his holy crusade, his jihad, to the stars, which leads to billions upon billions of deaths, upon planets being razed to their cores, of massacres. And in the second book, Dune Messiah, Paul Atreides even acknowledges how he has made an amateur out of someone like Hitler.
Paul unseats the Emperor and restores the name Atreides, but something terrible has been set in motion. And in truth, terrible things have already been done on Arrakis. The Fremen had been manipulated into following a man who allowed them to believe he was God when he was not. Over the course of the next 12 years, the Fremen culture withers and degrades. Many of those who follow Paul have now turned against him. The people of the Imperium beg for a constitution, but Paul rejects any constitution. Nothing may override his power. He allows nothing to limit his imperial will. At this time, all but a fraction of the human universe existed under Paul's rule. Paul clings to his empire out of fear of what is to come, hoping to save himself. He knows that he must act but doesn't, even though he is the only one who can. Paul had seen the jihad too late and failed to prevent the death of billions.
To make some kind of comparisons.
But the jihad was a mere fraction of what was to come.
People were offended, were upset with Paul Atreides.
By the way, as someone who has actually read all the Dune novels, Paul Atreides is trying to guide them on the, I forget if he calls it like the golden path or the narrow path, because he can actually see the future through his fucking visions with the spice. And so he's not just doing this arbitrarily to hang on to power. He's like, humanity only has one chance at survival, and so I have to have total control to guide them down this very specific path, because we are walking on a tightrope, essentially, as a species in the galaxy. Yeah, walking a tightrope with you. But he has a purpose behind all of this, which is much more wider scope than what Ant is capable of seeing, because it's just like, oh no, oppression, oh, let them all die in order to maintain their freedom. Like, Paul Atreides, like, I forget if it's his kid or his grandkid, because it was a while ago that I read these, who ends up being like a worm who like lives 2,000 years or some shit, who oversees humanity and becomes like all powerful. And it's basically like he's thinking a lot larger and longer term than any of these people who are subjugated, unfortunately.
Yep.
No. So it's a completely different story, because nobody in fucking Star Wars has that, because the future is ever changing.
Yeah.
First book would become such a monster, even though the whole book leads to that. The first book of Dune is all about how power and influence can lead to destruction.
The other path held long patches of gray obscurity, except for peaks of violence. He had seen a warrior religion there, a fire spreading across the universe with the Atreides green and black banner waving at the head of fanatic legions drunk on spice liquor. Gurney Halleck and a few others of his father's men, a pitiful few were among them, all marked by the hawk symbol from the shrine of his father's skull.
How even revolution of a good kind can ultimately pave the way to worse evils down the road. We see how Paul's name becomes a
No, let him go. I thought he was going to say something else. Let him keep going.
Himself. The reason why Star Wars, I feel, doesn't succeed the same way Dune does is that Dune focuses on the average person. We see how belief intrinsically impacts every component of life. We see how the people of Arrakis function in that society, and how Paul's influence and the Lady Jessica's influence changes their day-to-day life. Dampness becomes a commodity when it was once a treasure. And it's very interesting, I think, how Dune tackles this versus how Star Wars used to tackle this. Because Star Wars wasn't really interested in how the Empire influenced the average person. It was more interested in the kings and queens. Yes, we see the Empire's acts of violence, but their violence enacted on a personal level. We see Luke's aunt and uncle killed. We see Obi-Wan killed. We see the threat of a planet blowing up. But we don't see how the Empire's architecture, its structure, can lead to senses of control. How the person can just live their life. How they watch galas.
Oh my god! I've already fucking disproven this. It's like we don't need to know. It's not relevant to the plot.
Finally, why the Empire is not something to be admired or think is cool. It's a petty, small system of minutia that controls.
The Imperial need for control is so desperate because it's so unnatural. Tyranny requires constant effort. It breaks.
And I think that's what was missing from Star Wars all this time. Even the sequel trilogy, which
the Empire was tyrannical? I think we already knew that.
When picking the First Order. it still presented uncertainty of how the First Order as a government functioned. What was life like?
This does not solve anything with the First Order, just to be clear.
Finn and the other ex-stormtroopers, but we never get a sense of how living in this world means anything, how it functions, how you work in it, how you exist in it. Because that was very important. They wanted the cool space fights. They wanted the cool experiences. And to make room for the cool, they put away the horrific. They put aside the pain.
Yeah, they put aside
Even
the unimportant shit.
Even though it focuses so much on politics, it's just words to the average viewer. We see a bunch of senators talking in a big meeting hall, and they talk about these vague things about vote of no confidence and all that. Who cares?
Motherfucker, how do you not know what a vote of no confidence is, you dumbass? I know what that shit is, and I don't even know a fucking thing about politics. Oh my god, how the fuck did you make it this far in life? I genuinely want to know, because no motherfucker this stupid makes it this far on his own. Oh my, oh my god, it's not that hard.
Who even knows what any of these things mean? And therefore, Star Wars has never tackled it before.
It's like we don't need to know Aragorn's fucking tax policy, plain and simple.
I'm sorry that you did not understand it or value it or care about it, but that doesn't mean that it wasn't there.
Yes. And if you want to see it, fucking infer it. Oh my god. Go on, Evan.
We see Padme and Anakin rolling and frolicking around in big fields and
rolling around with
and all this Romeo and Juliet stuff, but we don't see how the Trade Federation on Naboo affects the average person. We see empty buildings with patrols of troops.
That's a different movie, first of all. The Trade Federation has no influence on Naboo whenever Anakin and Padme
and
are
as a result, we lose track of why the Empire needs to be stopped. If we lose track of the human cost of the systems of control, we lose a sense of why any of this even matters at all.
How about the fact that the Sith are running everything? How about that?
Sounds about right.
The whole thing suffers. We lose track of what matters in this world. And I think that's a thing that we need to remember. Because ultimately, storytelling requires the human narrative. We need to see where the people experience and what the people live through. I want to go back to the scene with Bix in Andor Season 2 where she is assaulted by an Imperial officer for a second, because I think that illustrates the casual cruelty of the Empire all in one sitting. And the reaction therein, we got a mix of reactions. A lot of reactionaries either brushed aside the scene that happened and moved on, or they focus on how they couldn't believe that anyone in the Empire would do that, because Vader wouldn't abide by it. Vader wouldn't allow it.
And it has mainly galvanized around
God,
a tweet
created
by YouTuber
Jesse Gender yet. I know Jesse Gender's a big lol cow.
Is their last name really Gender?
I don't think so. Thankfully. We need to get like some Jesse Gender suggestions in the Discord. Ugh. Anyway, moving on.
Star Wars theory, who I have many, many thoughts on, none very positive, but
well, at least Jesse's based in that regard.
Star Wars feels unnecessary. You can portray power dynamics and make the audience hate the Empire in other ways without taking it to such a disgusting place. Vader wouldn't tolerate that shit, nor does the Empire condone it. It has no place in Star Wars, period. Unnecessary.
There's a few things that are kind of ridiculous.
Let's pad our runtime by reading it verbatim.
Yay.
His first thing that he says is Vader wouldn't tolerate that shit, nor does the Empire condone it. And it just goes to show his kind of ignorance of how these systems would actually work. Why would Vader give a crap what some guy on some backwater planet on a power trip is going to do?
And a lot of people point out, why would Vader...
Well, and here's an instance where, like, I'll agree with what you say.
It's a single...
But I don't necessarily agree with the reasoning behind it. It's like Vader can't personally probe every single Imperial officer in every single system. Even if Vader were to happen to run across this and be like, hey, cut that shit out, let's go ahead and continue to subjugate this planet. Like, Obviously, it's still going to happen in the Empire. You know how big a galaxy is.
Vader ain't Ray Kroc. He can't go to every fucking McDonald's around the country and inspect it himself. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, dude, do you know how big a galaxy is? Like, obviously, Vader was like a rumor to a lot of people where even though he's constantly working and he's showing up different places, a lot of people are just like, oh, I heard about this dude who can do some crazy shit. And, he enforces for Palpatine. It's like, oh, I don't know if that's really true. Like, half the fucking Imperial officers in that meeting don't even believe. The guy who spoke up obviously didn't believe that he could choke him with the Force. He was like, oh, shit, fuck.
Admiral Conan Antonio. Wait, it's either Conan Antonio or Antonio Conan. I forget, but Admiral Mahdi, yeah.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I heard some rumors about this, but obviously, if I thought he could choke me, I wouldn't have said what I said.
Yeah. Anyway.
Given a place where no one's around, and he can act out his fantasies as he sees fit. The people working in the Empire are not Vader. They're not guided by this higher ideology.
Yes, you're arguing against Star Wars theory because that's easy.
Yeah.
You're not addressing any of the other criticisms.
He's never like these. I would really love to see Ant in a debate with Star Wars Marvel purists.
Brian Kinnell. Oh, that would be fucking hilarious.
Oh,
He would just be like, oh, you're so hateful. I don't understand. I can't. Like, you stupid fucking gay retard. Kill yourself.
Oh my god, anyway.
All petty people who want to look strong and hold a position of power over someone else. And Andor illustrates that. At every level of the Empire, you have a person who is cutting for more power, pushing for more power, trying to undermine someone else to get a little bit of power in the system. And as a result of that, we see how the House of Cards falls apart. There's camaraderie among the rebels. There is a sense of hope and safety. They're fighting for each other, to protect each other, to protect what they love, to bring about change that makes people live in peace and happiness. Whereas the Empire, they are fighting all for themselves. And as such, when push comes to shove, they fall by themselves. It's amazing how in Rogue One, Krennic is killed because the Death Star, the thing he built, is
it's so poetic.
Of his world.
It's like poetry, it rhymes.
Right,
Also, we're fucking like 31 minutes in a 34-minute video. You haven't proven how they're cowards yet. You've proven how they're power-hungry assholes, yeah, but you haven't proven how they're cowards yet. Why'd you title your video like this then?
They're cowards, Pierce, because they're not altruistic and they don't all trust each other and love each other and do it for their unselfish means.
Dude, a coward means like you're afraid of shit and you'll bail when shit goes bad. This isn't the Empire at all. Dude, this is a misleading title, if anything. Holy fuck. Let's keep going.
As a test. The whole place that he's at, he's blown up, erased, gone, disappeared, unpersoned.
Yes, he's dead. Thank you.
Thank you for letting us know, Anthony.
I'm going to say it 6 different ways so I can feel like I have emphasis. Ooh.
After him. And, frankly, no one notices. The movies go on, nothing stopped.
Because it's a prequel movie and it was never intended to be part of the story. Of course, nobody noticed. What do you want George Lucas to put in? Oh, I can't believe director Krennic died at the initial Imperial meeting in A New Hope. He did a lot of special editions. He never was going to do that.
Yeah.
Exists does not mean that Krennic mattered at all. But the influence of those who died during Death Star plans, that does matter. Their sacrifice leads to the events of the Battle of Yavin, which kickstarts the entire Star Wars saga as we know it.
Yes, we know how time
no, the Star Wars saga kickstarts with fucking Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan going to talk with Newt Gunray. That's where the saga starts, jackass.
Those who wish to bring about change for others is valued throughout Star Wars, whereas those who fight for themselves, for a little bit of power, they are erased and forgotten. In much the same way, this is true for real systems of fact.
Oh, it's just like Hitler.
No one cares about the individual SS officers and
I think we should.
My God.
You should only care about your own selfish position. You should never fight for a greater good than yourself.
They are forgotten about. They kind of blend together in the history.
Because otherwise you're a fascist.
Interchangeable figures. But the heroes who fought them stand out historically. They're the ones who remain relevant. You probably don't know who Ernst Röhm is, but you know who Oskar Schindler is. Because Schindler sacrificed something, helped save people, helped have an influence outside to resist, to fight. Röhm is famous mainly for, serving Hitler until it was no longer necessary, and he was publicly humiliated and ultimately slain.
There's a shit ton of soldiers who are no longer remembered. You ever hear of the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier?
Probably not. Ant's probably an anti-American asshole who doesn't give a shit about shit like
Is
that.
this entire motivation for being a good person that you can be more famous than the people who are not? Like, what the fuck kind of morality is this?
I mean, Tarkin was a good soldier, and people still remember him, so...
There are famous people on both sides, obviously. It's not about being famous or remembered or...
Heroes on both sides, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the heroes on both sides, too. Ever heard of Benedict Arnold?
Yeah. It's like his whole premise is just like, oh, you remember this name? No, well, this person's more famous. The person who had a movie made about them. It's like, okay, thank you. I can also name a lot of Nazis. Hitler, Heimler, Stalin.
Like, everyone in the Hitler
communists.
Rants videos, yeah.
Like casualty of a system he helped establish. In much the same way, the various Imperial officers in Star Wars exist for a time, and then the moment they are no longer useful are cast aside. That illustrates more to anyone else the sheer cruelty of the Empire. Because it doesn't matter what you do, it doesn't matter how much you accomplish, it doesn't matter what you do to help the cause. Once you're no longer useful, once you've built your Death Star and you've completed the project, you could be dismissed in seconds and no one's going to care. No one's even going to have a second to think about you.
It's a statement against office work culture, guys.
Oh my god, no.
Oh yeah, of course.
I'm gonna need, you clone trooper Gary, I'm gonna need that paper by 7:30 tonight. If you could leave it on my desk by then, that'd be great. Anyway,
You're just a cog in a machine.
Control work, and what Android does is illustrate the banality, the banal cruelty of these systems. So consider that before you dress up as a stormtrooper. Consider that before you talk about how cool the Empire is, how cool the Star Destroyer is.
Jesus, dude. Like, no fun allowed, police over here. He's just like, oh, yeah, 501st Legion, one of the most fervent fan bases throughout the history of Star Wars. Oh, fuck you. Yeah, think about this. This new show that just came out last year before you have a Stormtrooper cosplay. It's like, oh, Jesus Christ, dude.
Oh, you like dressing up as Darth Vader? Well, just remember, he killed children. He did a lot of them. Yeah.
Did you know Darth Vader was a bad guy? What?
Oh my god, it's like you could say this about like literally anyone. It's like, did you know Grand Admiral Thrawn was a bad guy? Remember that next time you paint yourself blue.
Well, I have to say, if you're going by the Ahsoka version, he really didn't kill anybody because he was too incompetent.
Yeah.
He's just like, oh, well, let them go. They had their fun.
Yeah.
All that.
Moving on.
It's essentially a system built not on individuality, but on how a person can be used as a resource to build a system of power that glorifies one central figure.
So it was a very anti-authoritarian.
Alright, thank fuck we're done.
He's flipping it. He's flipping it.
Oh my
very
god.
kind of 60s against the man kind of thing, nested deep inside a fantasy.
Or a colonial, we're fighting the largest empire in the world.
Colonial, right. I'll take
and
that
we're
as
just
the
a bunch
British.
of hayseeds.
So there we go. We brought up all four then. By the end of the video, yes, I fucking called it, didn't I?
Sure did.
Yeah,
so we got 15, 19 seconds left.
Here we go. 19 seconds left.
I just want to see what he actually clips out of here.
All right.
Hats that don't know nothing.
That's right.
And it was the same thing with the Vietnamese.
Yep.
The irony of that one is in both of those, the little guys won.
Right.
And the big, highly technical empire,
the English Empire.
So we're just like the Vietnamese. That's good.
Lost.
Yeah.
Holy shit, that was crap.
What point did he think he was making with that last
I
clip?
don't know. He was oh, hey, look, there's me. There's one of my videos right there. Oh, my God. Oh, yeah, it's like, oh, my God. Yeah, it's like, I think this is the first time we've seen that.
Wait, Ash hates Subway?
No. But no, it's like, okay, yeah, it's like, he made no point through this whole video. It's just a bunch of gobbledygook. All right, let's
just like
John. Actually, closing arguments. I already gave mine. John, what's your closing argument?
Well, basically that he doesn't seem to be making the point that he thinks he's making, where he's just like, oh, hey guys, you should care about your individuality, and that's why you should hate fascism. It's like, well, no. You can still be part of a larger organization and still not like killing innocent people. It doesn't really matter whether you're individually remembered or not.
Yeah.
He seems to be more concerned about like the modern culture of like Insta fame and like everybody gets a voice or whatever, and less about like actual morality. I would say, Ant, please just like consider the actual morality. It doesn't matter if you get famous off of it. Like, just be moral.
Evan, closing arguments.
Well, I think of a better argument, but I almost fell asleep like 2 or 3 times.
Oh no, I'm so sorry, Evan.
That's why at one point I had trouble like pausing in between takes and having the video.
It's watching Andor. It's natural.
Oh my God.
The whole time I was like, this guy just fucking get to his point, please. Like,
nope, gotta pad that video out so we can make like the fucking runtime. But oh my God, we've been going at this for like, we just passed the 2-hour mark. So
and that was past the preamble.
Oh my God. So if you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, comment below if you want videos, subscribe if you want more videos like this, and we'll see you guys next time in the backseat. Take care.